He's an English professor and philosopher, writer of the novel Naked in the Road, and interviewee of the YouTube channel Jack Kovac's Education. He's Barry Pomeroy. So I've always wanted to get your opinion on abortion.
No, I don't think that I have the right to tell other people what to do in that case.
Uh-huh.
What most people who argue about abortion, they're rather like stupid people, typically, who argue about abortion.
Okay.
And now the people that argue that abortion is wrong are, the reasoning they're using is that all life is precious.
Sure.
Now, if someone said that, then you would expect, and especially human life, they typically are more interested in human life than animal life.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't vegetarians who are making these arguments, right?
Sure.
And so you would expect that person would be an intensely respectful person of other people, right?
Okay.
And other people's rights. Now, your uncle and aunt felt that way, that all life was precious and that abortion was wrong. And one of the things that they did is they brought young teenage mothers, I guess young is covered by teenage, isn't it? They brought teenage mothers into their home and gave them financial and emotional support while they were having the child.
Okay.
And I would say those are people who are acting in a way that's in accordance with their beliefs. And so that, I think, is a very good way of going about making sure that your beliefs have an impact on the world, and a positive impact.
Sure.
Now, the people that march up and down outside of abortion clinics and scream obscenities at the women who are already in a bad situation and are having to go to an abortion clinic,
sure.
Those people are very disrespectful and very inconsiderate and are not really willing to put themselves financially on the line for other people.
Mm-hmm.
They're the type who shoot abortion doctors. And they say, well, that was just an isolated incident, but, as your dad is fond of saying, if you ask those people what their stance is on capital punishment, then they will always say, kill the bastards.
Yeah.
So their respect for life is very, very thin,
sure.
I would say. And now, my own part, I don't believe that you should kill anything unless you have a good reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's any being, really, or a plant. I guess a plant is a being as well.
Right. Okay.
And how you define that term.
Okay.
But I don't think you should just pull up a plant for kicks either.
Right.
And you'll see people do that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Walking through the woods, they'll just tear a plant up by the roots just to show
no
they
reason.
can. And I don't think that's a very nice way to act. And you'll see kids, jumping up and down on ants.
Right.
Well, that's a life, right? And to wipe a life from the face of the planet is an extremely disrespectful thing to do. And so I don't think you should really do that unless you have a good reason.
Mm.
So a mosquito lands on me and tries to bite me, and I call that a good reason. And the mosquito is dead meat before they can even suck up one drop.
Right.
And likewise, if it's a person who is bugging me, I'm not going to kill them.
Bug,
I'm
that was
take
a good
steps, making sure they're away from me. Now, in the case of abortion,
sure.
It's since we don't have a culture that cares about people, because it has all these maniacs marching up and down outside of abortion clinics, then that means that women who cannot bring up the child themselves and don't have any support so they could bring up the child, like it might be their sixth kid or something and they can't afford it, or it could be like a recent case where a guy put holes in the condom and his girlfriend's condoms because she didn't want a child and he did, so he tricked her. He's now in jail for doing that.
Yeah.
It might be a case like that. We don't know the reasons that the woman might end up getting an abortion. I doubt it's much fun.
Right.
And but since the supports aren't in place for the children or for the mothers, and then I don't think that you can say that this is an unjustified taking of life. I do think you are taking a life. You're not taking a consciousness, which makes a difference, I think. We pull the plug on people that are brain dead.
Yeah.
Because they can't feel any pain and because they're not really technically, in terms of intelligence anyway, human beings anymore.
Okay.
Because their brain does no longer function. And so we pull the plug on them, and we feel okay about it. And say, well, this is a case of pulling the plug on someone who is not yet a human being and who never had consciousness, so far as we know. Like,
Right.
we could be will uncover more about that. But and you're doing it to save the life of the parent, the potential parent, who is not going to be a good parent, who is possibly going to make that kid's life hell because they don't really want them or can't take care of them, and things are bad enough that they've gone to an abortion clinic to make sure that they won't be able to, or can't, sorry.
Yeah.
And so to force that person to keep their child and then not to give them any supports whatsoever is a recipe for disaster, and you're actually better off not having the child. And we have to couple a whole discussion with a world of 7 billion people, where life is starting to get very cheap on the planet.
Yeah.
And there's an awful lot of people, and there's people are really suffering because of numbers, because there's so many people running out of food and running out of resources. And so we're looking into a future of vast suffering if we don't try to limit human population. And we have to do it really, I would say by this point, we're going to have to do it in any means possible. And it's much worse to have a child be born and then later to starve to death than it is for that child never to experience suffering like that.
Right.